says too, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Virtual30. This is our last episode in our weekly series, so thank you everyone for jumping on today. It is June 30th, and we've got Conrad Konarski here of the AAIC, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the AI Innovation Consortium and then share with us about their upcoming event, Be Back to Business with AI, taking place in 2 weeks. So before we get started really quick, I do see some new names on the list, so I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Brianna Colder, and I'm the Corporate Project and Event Coordinator at Vsoft. I've been with the company about 3.5 years or just over that, and I'm located in our Louisville headquarter office. So excited to be back in the office. And I mentioned we've got Conrad here today, so I will go ahead and let Conrad introduce himself.
Thank you, Brianna. I can see this is a picture of the days where haircuts were done by people other than myself. So I welcome everyone here to this Virtual30. I want to cover today the AI Innovation Consortium that I am the chairman of. I'm sure you've seen, if you follow these virtual series, me also representing Vsoft as their senior practice head for AI and IoT. But I will put my chairman hat on for the consortium and speak to you both about the event and about the great work that we've been doing. And I'll try to create some information for you that we have not yet disclosed. So for those of you that have taken the time today to actually sit through this event, you will be hearing some new and compelling things that we're doing that have not yet been shared in any of these previous sessions.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so today, like he mentioned, Conrad's just going to go over the AI Innovation Consortium for those who might not be familiar with everything they do. Then we'll dive into the Back to Business with AI event, and you'll get to see all the participating organizations, our speaker lineup, and then some topics that will be touched on for the actual event. And then, of course, you'll learn how you can sign up if you haven't had a chance already. And then we've got time at the end, so if you think of any questions about the AIIC or the event in general, you can put them down below in the Q&A box, and we'll get them answered at the end. So I will go ahead and let Conrad take it from here.
Thank you. Like I mentioned, what I want to do today is share with you some material that you can't simply just get online. We do have a YouTube channel that talks about the consortium and its 4 pillars. And of course, we'll cover those basics for you, but I wanted to create almost like a progression and an update for those of you that have been following the consortium, and for those of you that haven't, create even more substance behind our initiatives, behind our structure, and behind the things that we've been doing in the last year and a half. The consortium was started unofficially approximately 2 years ago, and officially about a year ago as a non-for-profit geared towards driving artificial intelligence adoption in a couple of different dimensions. And that's covered in kind of our mission statement and principles. But basically, the goal here is to bring academia and industry together and drive artificial intelligence in the ways in which it's driven solely by a large IT company or solely by academia, bringing different dimensions of AI to be able to allow it to flourish within different application cases, to allow it to be adoptable safely, to allow it to take into consideration all the other moving parts around it with respect to data governance, standards, bias, and also to enable industry to adopt artificial intelligence as seamlessly as possible. And that will be shared a little bit through the types of incubation programs that we've set up in our labs and so on. And I'll share with you that shortly. Next slide. Holistically, like I mentioned, we have 4 pillars in which we focus on. 2 of them are here, standards and data, and then we have business value, and I think the last one is R&D. All those 4 overlap with each other in the sense that, first of all, the team within the consortium and the collective members, although they focus typically on 1 or 2 of these pillars, inevitably, because of the work that we do and because of this, how closely this is all tied in, there needs to be consideration for these other pillars. Like I said, there's plenty of information on the consortium around the basics around what this really means, but I wanted to create some unique dimension to our presentation today and talk to you about what we're really doing in this space. Within our participating organizations, we have 5 different universities. Some of them that have been working with incubation of different technologies, some of them have been working more on R&D and some of them have been working more in academic sense on just evolving artificial intelligence standards and things like that. The standards piece is pretty straightforward, and we borrow from a lot of the existing frameworks and standards that exist around assuring that algorithms that are developed are transparent, assuring that they're trained on non-biased data. And we try to verticalize or contextualize as much as possible these sort of concepts. So in other words, there are already great things out there that kind of frame how you're supposed to go through assuring that you don't have data bias, frame as to how you would expose an artificial intelligence model so that it is transparent to the end user. But to actually apply those and to show how those work within the context of a particular vertical market, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be retail, that's really where we play in this space. Our data group is interesting because it also touches, like I said, upon these other dimensions of artificial intelligence in our pillars. And there's already so much in the data world when it comes to governance standards and discussion, maybe most pertinently these days around data bias, because AI is becoming more tangible to all of us, whether it be autonomous vehicle driving, whether it be diagnostics for medicine. So bias plays an important role in addressing these sort of, let's say, collection of information and in terms of how to establish frameworks to actually reduce your biases, both in your development of AI and in your collection of data, so that that autonomous vehicle is not somehow avoiding certain obstacles but not others because of the bias that you've provided, or that medical diagnostic because of maybe biases that you don't really have immediate control in, because let's say certain parts of the world digitize the results of medical practitioners, whereas others don't. And so the training data that you're using to build an AI algorithm that helps you diagnose X-rays or diagnose patient's symptoms is inherently biased because of the nature of how today we can collect that information. So we work through those sort of avenues that exist today when it comes to bodies that work on data bias and actually create some practicality around it. Next slide. These are the other two pillars I mentioned to you. And let me create some very specific context here, because we have some labs that we've stood up in the last year that really cover these two dimensions of artificial intelligence in our focus areas. The U of L robotics lab that we work with has set up different AI teams that help us build artificial intelligence and enhance artificial intelligence in delivery bot technology and autonomous driving technology. Some of the unique things we're doing now is actually focused on, delivery bot technology, where we are enhancing the existing techs that are out there from companies like Segway and actually deploying delivery bots that are intended to be even more autonomous, even more deployable from either a cost perspective or just from the ability to deploy these robots without having to do legwork to actually have them operate safely, or kind of prep work to allow them to actually be deployed into those environments. And all those work that we're doing, although initially was geared strictly from an operational value case, so you're reducing the amount of workforce required to do a task, or you're increasing or decreasing the speed. Now that lab and the work that we do inherently takes on this new value case around COVID-19. So now delivery bots can be used as ways to deliver food to individuals, as the ways to deliver or to sanitize hospital rooms, as ways to deliver parts in manufacturing lines. Things that, and although all those had a value case before, now they have this additional dimension of social distancing, reducing contact points, and essentially allowing your business to continue with the help of these AI technologies. We also have another lab in Penn State that is focused entirely on AI manufacturing, where we deploy algorithms and collect information from different types of industrial products and essentially use AI to automatically detect and categorize different types of defects. We're enhancing that now with some other ways of diagnosing sensor data from machining equipment and looking at those signatures to determine some sort of predictive analytics. And we're also deploying new labs, one with the University of Houston, where we'll be focusing on a variety of different technology pillars, including healthcare. So that's something that we'll actually be announcing in some shape during the virtual event coming up July 14th. And as well, we have a utility focus, a utility and energy focus with LSU. And there's other universities that are collaborating with us on very specific threads, which we'll also be sharing during this virtual event. So that is a combination of research and development and business value. In fact, some of the university labs offer programs, which I'm sure if you followed our YouTube threads or if you followed previous virtual 30s, we've shared. And if not, I urge you guys to look back at these. But we have elaborate programs that we allow industry to collaborate with on, or they ship us industrial products, or they share with us computer or vision feeds to help us develop models for their operating environments to reduce the chance of social distancing violations from occurring. So a variety of different application cases. And those labs serve as kind of the foundation for empowering industry to take that first step into artificial intelligence, right? To take it in a way that is low risk and also gives them that feasibility of this actually is going to work and help me do something, save people's lives or reduce cost or something to that effect. So those are the two other pillars. And of course, and you've heard this here a few times, the Back to Business event, July 14th, which is a full day event. We have, I think, 16 speakers, and then we have several other speaker inserts that we'll be having in intermissions, where we'll have either people that can't make it or just other individuals providing us little excerpts of videos about what they're doing as well. And the whole event is really focused on providing or using artificial intelligence to help with either your organization's safety or your organization's business continuity efforts when they're reopening or if they've already reopened. And one of the names that you've seen in our panel discussions going to be participating is Tyson Foods. And Tyson, of course, has a story about how that I'm sure everyone has seen already about how they're dealing with different dynamics to having to manage employees within the workforce across their food manufacturing lines. And then we'll be hearing from very large IT providers like IBM and AWS talking about their global efforts to be able to drive artificial intelligence to support these sort of dimensions, to help support companies go back to business, to help support companies sustain business continuity. So a huge array of speakers are talking about different dimensions to this topic. And we'll, of course, have our giveaways and everything else. I think we have a giveaway today as well for some people to attend this event. So we'll be doing a lot of different, very interesting things. We want to make this as compelling as possible to attend. We'll be trying to interact with the audience as much as possible and tailor that interaction to adjust our content before the event as you're registering and also during the event. So please provide as much information to us as possible, because we will use that information to gear our presentations, to gear our content, to make it as pertinent as possible for everyone that attends. These are just photos of participating organizations in our consortium and in the event. So like I mentioned, large academic institutions, large tech providers, Fortune 500 companies, a nice, very cross-functional group that will show you how AI is being used to support back to business and will hopefully touch upon a dimension that is very relevant to you. And our esteemed speakers, so I think we have 2 pages of this and then some people that are not yet up. Like I mentioned, large IT providers. We have Chris, who is a global machine learning lead for AWS. We have Professor Hachim from U of L, who heads their digital lab and is working with us closely in the robotics space. We have Sarah, who is the president and CEO of GLI, and a few folks from her team, and various other universities and professors. If you want to scroll to the second speaking group, of course, we have Tyson Foods and a few folks from Vsauce and as well IBM and some other end users. So really a group of people that are from different industry, different perspectives of AI, and we're collectively going to try to communicate value to the people that are attending in either the form of business continuity, like I said, health and safety, manufacturing, office automation, across different dimensions of AI, whether it be computer vision, natural language processing, deep learning for statistical analysis, and all in this kind of dimension of back to business. I think I covered this implicitly, but here are some specific topics that the speakers will be talking about. There's actually an agenda on our AI Innovation Consortium site. that shares with you the full schedule and all the relevant topics. I think here, maybe one thing that I didn't cover that might be interesting is some of the ways in which AI will no longer not just be used in terms of industrial focus, right? So if you're in retail or whatnot, but also in the federal space. So we do have federal organizations that sit within our AI Innovation Consortium. We have state organizations, and we have these chambers of commerce. And all of them also have a use for artificial intelligence to help support things like workforce development in the future of artificial intelligence. And that ties in really nicely, just coming back to business now. AI is being used for specific tasks, some specific tasks. How the workforce adjust to be able to actually leverage that technology and to be able to complement their skill sets to be able to use that tech effectively and to complement their skill set just simply to be able to function in these new environments. So there is that additional dimension here, and I wanted to mention it. Well, you have a question, I think? Unless my audio has gone off and I've been talking.
Oh, we do have a question. I can go ahead and read it now. Will there be any live demos versus just speakers, like for autonomous bots?
Right, that's a good question. So the plan is to have some live demos. We have some cameras set up in a few of our labs that can demonstrate some of this tech. I'll leave the rest up to the platform and how well we can stream a live demo like this. What you'll see in this event is there's going to be lead-ins, additional deep dive workshops, and subsequent events will have much more interactive capabilities to hone in on specific topics. So with our robotics group, we'll have a spin-off event in the future where we'll allow the audiences to actually take a look at these technologies and interact with them, even navigate some of the let's say responses from the autonomous driving feedback. So let's say a delivery bot moves to a particular location, pick up some food, you'll be able to select what location you want it to drive to deliver that food. Some simple examples like that. I'm not sure how much you'll see of that in this event, but you will see that once we have the right platform to stream it.
Cool. And I have another one that's kind of relevant to the topic, so I'll go ahead and read it now. I'm in the oil and gas industry. Will you have any specific speaker coverage for that industry during the event?
Yes, we will. So Textile is actually a tubular manufacturer that manufactures oil field country tubular goods. And they will be sharing some of the use of AI for manufacturing of those tubular goods. We also have U of H, and Dave from U of H that leads the technology practice there for their technology school. He will be sharing some of his, let's say, stories, use cases around artificial intelligence, and we'll be sharing also the collaboration initiative that we've set up with U of H. And there is an inherent, being in Houston focus, that will also be oil and gas specific, have those dimensions of oil and gas being shared as well.
Perfect. All right, is there anything else you needed to cover on topics? I don't have any more questions for now, or we can, there's another one. I'll read it, I guess. I'm not in IT, just a manager, but interested in learning more. Will this be too techie for me?
All right, good question. I think that all of the speakers, if you look at the agenda, they're all speaking in about 25, 30 minutes. They all have topics that have a dimension to them that is intended to connect to an industry. Even some of the topics you see here, right? They don't necessarily articulate any deep technical dimension to what sort of models that we use for the training of the delivery bots or anything like that. So there is implicitly an intent here to touch an audience that has an operational connection to what we're going to share, so that they can take that information and actually make use of it to take actionable steps to evolve that thread of discussion, whether it be to learn more, to know what can I do to help with continuity of my business, or what can I do to help with health and safety of my business. So the answer is, if you're not a techie, this should be fine. There may be some intermittent deep dives on the technology side, but I would not be intimidated by that because for the most part, we want to connect with as many people in the audience with walking away from this event with a thought of what can I do with AI, not a thought of I just got confused with a lot of technical jargon.
Perfect. And then I did answer someone else's question about the speaker lineup. All right. And I guess we can move on to the next one so you can tell people how they should sign up.
Okay. I don't think can you click on this? You probably can't from the Zoom.
No, I did send in the chat the link to the registration page, and on that link there's a button to learn more about the event, and then a button to get the speaker lineup, which you'll see the schedule of all day, so you'll know when you want to jump on and jump off.
Right. So the event is the whole day, but we know that maybe not all of you can make it for the whole day. And like I said, we want to make the event in a way that allows you to interact and tailor the content. So before, when you register, I'm not sure if we have this set up, but hopefully we'll have that soon. Some additional Q&A for you to answer. But in addition to that, during the event, we'll have Q&A that will be taken into consideration for our panel discussions. So being physically present at the event is part of our intention to create that differentiation. We don't want this to be a playback session. We want this to where you can just go on YouTube a month or two later and view it. We want to engage the audience, tailor the content to the audience, adjust to questions in the audience, demo and provide interactive demos as they become available through the Zoom sessions here as much as possible through the whole session. And if you can only make it for one time slot, fine, make it for that time slot and engage with Q&A, engage with, and be comfortable with talking to your needs so we can adjust in the content as we go along the entire presentation.
Perfect. And real quick, it does say here, I put the link in the chat. It'll be on the final slide, and then I'll include it in the follow-up email. So you have multiple ways to register for the event. And then I did see, if you have any more questions, you can ask them now. I saw one come in. Or oh, someone says, thanks, that was too soon. So we answered their question already. But did anyone, I know we asked a lot of questions already, so does anybody else have any more questions? Unless, Conrad, is there any other detail you wanted to mention about the event that you might have missed, or anything else?
No, I mean, I think we covered everything. You have that form that you can fill out. If there's questions, I think, Brianna, maybe you can share the event info at AI Innovation Consortium in the chat and allow everyone to reach out that way for additional follow-ups, or if you have specific needs that you want covered or topics that you want covered that you don't explicitly see there, or maybe you do see a topic but you want to have a particular dimension of that topic covered. We promise that all of those will be adjusted, right? There's some limitations, but like I said, if you're seeing delivery robotics and you have a particular application case, we can cover and tailor to answer at least a portion of your questions during the event.
Perfect. I haven't seen any more questions, so I think we are done with that. So thank you, Conrad, for taking the time today to share about the AIIC in general and then more about this event. We got 2 weeks to go, so I'm sure we will have a big turnout. It's looking good so far. And before we go, we do have a giveaway today. We're giving away a Google Home Mini for anyone that's jumped on. So I have a random generator pulled up with the names entered in, so I'll just hit it and see what name we get today. Just give it one.
If either you or me win, that's fine.
Conrad can't win. He's
I put my name
in the competition. All right. Well, we got Mary Lynn K. So Mary Lynn, I know you can't speak right now, but I'm sure you're just jumping up and down. I will be in contact with you. I've got your email to get you your prize. So congratulations, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Sorry, not everybody could win, but we wanted to do something for our last event here. So just want to say thank you to everyone for hanging out with us for 12 weeks now. Crazy to think we started this at the very beginning of quarantine when we had to change everything to digital. So we are glad you were able to join us today and these past 12 weeks. And I hope there was some useful content for you along the way. I will provide a link in the follow-up email that'll share our YouTube page so you can view all our past presentations and the presentation from today. And like I said, here is the link to sign up for the event. That will also be in the follow-up email. And then I have Conrad's email here. And I also put the info email in the chat as well if you want to reach out to that with any questions or any other thing you might need. So that is all we have. So thank you, Conrad, and thank you, everyone. And it has been a good 12 weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Back to business with AI.